r/ask Reddit. When did fake it until you make it backfire? I hired a Mandarin translator for a game I'm developing, ran her translations through Google Translate to find they were a good match, too good to match, showed it to a friend of mine who's from China, told me the translator just Google translated everything and that the end result was barely comprehensible. How did you proceed from there? Did you get your money back from the translator? How did you find the translator in the first place? Did they respond to an advert? I knew a girl who would apply to jobs she was unqualified for, including a job at NASA and at Apple. She lied about her qualifications on her resumes. She landed several high-paying jobs, but would get fired after a month or two once her co-workers realized she did not have the skills to fulfill her duties. She would boast on Facebook about how she landed her dream job every few months. Not sure what she's doing now since I haven't spoken to her in years. I believe she moved to another country. Oh, and she took credit for the Mars rover and for the Beatles on iTunes. At Nelson Mandela's funeral, people took note of the sign language interpreter that seemed to just be making random hand gestures instead of actual sign language. Turns out he had made quite a few appearances previously and nobody had caught on that he knew literally no sign language. To me, this dude is just the poster child for fake it till you make it. This is apparently common. A sign language interpreter for the city of Tampa, Florida was fired after it turned out that she didn't know sign language and was just signing in gibberish. Got a job working in an insurance company reviewing contracts. Had no ducking idea what I was doing and thought I could just learn it and I'd be fine eventually. Lasted 6 months and they kicked me out. That 6 months experience though. I was 8 years old and I told my dance teacher I could do a backbend. I couldn't, so she moved me up a level in acro and put me in a special role for our recital. For the next week my mom tried to help me get a backbend but it wasn't happening and I had to come clean. Luckily she didn't get too mad. I had to move back down a level, but I still got to keep my special role. Reminds me of when Joey, Friends, fakes his resume for a part in a musical. LOL. Got a part-time job as a bartender to help with bills. Told them I knew how to bartend. I can pour a whiskey, coke and beer, so just figured I'd pick up the rest as I went along. First week I was serving to get to know the menu and someone called in sick. Owner makes me bartend. So I'm doing fine. Just beers and a few mixed drinks. Then a party of about 40 people coming from a wedding come in and starts asking for all these different shots, different specialty drinks, etc. Totally shit my pants. Fire Festival definitely comes to mind. That was just fraud. LOL. Guy I used to work with told me about when he used to work as an electrician apprentice at a plant when there was nothing to do, which apparently was most of the time. The lead guy and him would walk out to a random spot in the plant with a ladder, a conduit bender and a bent piece of conduit. Then one of them would stand on top of the ladder and the other on the ground holding the conduit and they'd just chit chat all day. If any of the bosses wandered by they'd nod and pass the piece of conduit up to the guy on the ladder who would then make a show of trying to fit it in somewhere. It said they both made it through 3 rounds of layoffs doing that. That's maintenance electrician for you. You do nothing all day. Take long breaks and only occasionally work boring stuff. Went to visit my older cousin in a big city small town girl. Before going out, he told me that the friends we would be meeting are super snobby and would probably make fun of me if I told them I was from small town A. Today I would tell him to get better friends. But when I was 18 I just wanted to fit in. We agree I would tell them I'm from City X. So the blonde bombshell in the group, 6 years older, starts talking to me while my cousin and his friend head off to buy shots. Where are you from? City X. OMG. Me too. She proceeds to ask me which school I went to, which coffee shop was my favorite and where my parents work. Just making polite conversation. Of course. I do the adult thing and confess, make up an entire fake life story. My cousin gets back to the table with the shots and I have never been more grateful for the opportunity to put alcohol in my mouth and stop words from coming out. At seeing me knock back my shot like an animal, my cousin forgets our cover story and loudly proclaims, "Good God, you don't have to drink like you do in small town A. Just chill." I did not look at bombshell for the rest of the night. I have seldom wanted the earth to swallow me as much as I did in that moment. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen is that you do make it, because when you do fake it to make it, you still have to fake it to keep it. I'm still in the same career field faking that I care about numbers and competition and wearing nice clothes. Advice to me younger self: if you have to fake it till you make it, you don't want to make it. When someone asks if I've seen a movie and I lie and say yes to fit in. When they ask for my favorite part or my opinion on a part, I'm exposed. No, I've been meaning to see that. Don't ruin it for me. Then you move on to the next topic. I work as an accountant with a theater background. I'm 6 years in and I'm working solo with no one above me in the company besides the owners. I have an audit, a $16 million lot to acquire, and another company we just purchased. This is the tipping point, I'm sure. This is exactly what consultants are for. Hire Deloitte or Accenture and get a promotion for your executive leadership. We need a third party to give us an objective assessment during the M&A. This will reduce our risk and better position us to integrate our solutions and go-to-market strategy. They have no money for this and expect that to be me. There's no real employees besides the owners and technically the owner's son. Orgasms. If you fake it at first, you just never gonna make it. It also sets false expectations and loses trust. Even when you come clean, there's always the uncertainty gnawing away. Dating a close friend that I wasn't even remotely attracted to. I thought the feelings that I was supposed to have would kick in, but they didn't. What was it that made you want to date them? Not odd, but I got into a similar situation. I had never been in a real relationship in my adult life, nor had I developed feelings for anyone since high school. Over the course of a few years, I slowly got tired of waiting for love to happen and also felt self-conscious that I couldn't find someone I felt for. Then a friend of mine asked me out one day and I thought, what the hell? Coffee is cool and so is she. Let's give it a try. I thought that if love wouldn't come, we should try to come to love. It didn't happen though. What did happen was a lot of hurt. She wanted more from me than I could give, and at a rate far faster than I could give it. I felt guilty and miserable just being with her, that I didn't feel the same way about her that she felt for me, and, at the same time, frustrated that she refused to take things more slowly. Those feelings never came. After a fight we decided to break things off. I had a job that I was way underqualified for, yet I still was surprisingly given the offer. 8 months in, the fact really started to show that I wasn't the assumed genius savior the hiring manager thought I was. Fortunately, I got offered a different job by someone who wasn't really desperate to hire. I taught some anatomy and physiology labs to pre-nursing majors. These girls knew more about anatomy and physiology than I did. I'm an expert in ecology, but somehow I got the job of teaching this class. I figured I'd just look at the answers on the worksheets as the semester went on. When I finally got the student feedback, it was a blow to my sense of confidence. About half of them did indeed notice that I had just been looking at the ducking worksheet answers. As a student I had a professor in the exact same boat. First day of class he said, the a-holes are making me teach this class. I have a doctorate in physics. I DK what I'm doing but I have the notes from the last professor. Sorry guys. Respected the hell out of him after that and didn't care that he 100% just read answers. Tried to power my way through undiagnosed PTSD. I got 100x worse. Real recovery does require you to face the difficult situations, but in a specific way. Trying to force yourself to get over it will convince your subconscious that the thing is indeed bad. On the flip side, laughter yoga is the most effective fake it until you make it I've ever encountered. Pretending to laugh until you feel so ridiculous you really do laugh. Pretty much an instant mood boost. So I am sort of in this situation now. I know how to do my specific job, but due to me being hired late and getting thrown into the job I didn't really onboard correctly with the company I actually work for. I work in outreach, so I am off site 10 months a year. Well, my boss resigned last week and now I am in limbo cause I have been there long enough where I should know where things are and who is who and how things run, but I know nothing and just sort of kept to myself and did my own thing while on site. I'm slightly worried that now that I don't have a direct boss, that if I am told to do something I will have no clue how to do it. Not exactly my fault because of the situation, but I foresee an awkward conversation in my future. That reminds me of the guy on Reddit who pretended to his girlfriend's parents he has never heard of potatoes before. Worked with a successful guy whose reputation was he spends 50% of his time on the job working on his old job and 50% on his next job. Was true. Unfortunately, he piloted his plane into a set of power lines. I just heard in a podcast about a guy who lived on an army base for 3 years posing as a soldier until he got caught due to drinking and driving. The guy apparently was well known and went so far as to brief incoming soldiers on and even responded to a bomb threat since he posed as an EOD tech. The guy responds to bomb threats and gets caught because of a DUI. LOL. Pretending to be happy and having it backfire on your actual mental health because it takes so much energy and you feel like a fraud. But if you pretend to be happy on the outside, eventually you'll feel happy on the inside. Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos. I'm curious how her fraud trial will shake out next year. I'm reading Bad Blood. It's infuriating that she thought she could get away with what she tried, and she ruined a lot of her employees' lives, and almost put the lives of patients at risk. I hope she ends up rotting in prison for the rest of her life. Been faking stuff for so long to not act depressed that I no longer have any sort of self-identity or concept of what I want in life, what goals to pursue, or even who I am. A lot of the big instances of fraud came from fake it until you make it mentality. Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos were faking the technology until they could get it to work. Fire Festival was faking it until they could get the money together. Anna Delvey intended to make it one day, but she Ponzi'd her way through until she would get there. Dr. Christopher Dunch, Dr. Death, was a horrible back surgeon, but he kept operating and working on patients anyway. I tend to think fraudsters don't really intend to hurt other people. They're just grossly incompetent and trying to cover their asses. Not my story, but a senior back in my high school used to talk about how tough he was and how he was a black belt in karate and had plenty of boxing experience. He even brought his black belt, which I'm convinced wasn't actually his, to school one day to show it off. He eventually got the reputation of someone who was not to be ducked with. He was a beefy guy, sort of a meathead. Anyhow, fast forward a bit and he was having a heated argument with this sophomore in the hallway. People were gathering all around to watch the drama unfold. Things escalate, and he pushes the sophomore kid hard. The sophomore immediately responds with a punch square to the senior guy's nose. He drops like a sack of potatoes, and then this black belt karate expert starts ducking, crying. I would like to tell you that this was the end of the fight, but it wasn't. He gets back up, blood dripping from his nose, and swings at the sophomore with quite possibly the worst punch I'd ever seen. Tears and blood are dripping off his face as he's throwing some huge toddler tantrum, just swinging his arms like a windmill and missing every punch. Some teachers came and broke up the fight and both of them got suspended. The guy never bragged about his fighting experience again after that and sort of flew under the radar for the rest of the year. I struggle remembering names after first introductions, especially in large groups. I tend to forget them, and as a result, just don't use names. It usually works out well until I remember them properly, but sometimes I'm put in the spotlight and things go south fast. Not me, but it backfires all the time in MLM's pyramid schemes. They actually tell you to fake it till you make it, but no matter how many times you lie on social media about being a boss babe, you will never make it. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.